Today's guest, Amy Moeller, is a wonderful combination of realtor and designer. And I think realtors think about specifics. How can I help you? What are you thinking of? Where you want to go? And designers are more functional in the sense of, I guess, form over function. And you'll hear that today with Amy Moeller. We start talking about the real estate aspects, and then we get into the design discussion. And so many of these issues are coming together. Downsizing, energy in your space, what your dreams are. And it seems to me that so many of the episodes of the podcast now are coming together. And I hope you enjoy today's discussion with Amy Moeller. Welcome to Real Estate Connections Podcast, where relationships open doors. I'm Mary Foerster, and housing is a universal need. We are often thinking about our existing housing, our future housing, that possibly of family members. This is where you're going to hear the issues and the people who are working the issues every day. Please hit subscribe and like if you find this podcast helpful to you. Thank you. And welcome again to Real Estate Connections Podcast. And today, listeners, this is going to be a fascinating conversation, I know, because when we think about moving, when we think about our real estate choices, we often think about, okay, I want to move in this state. I want to live in that community. I want the house to have that many rooms. Well, today, our guest, Amy Moeller, is going to challenge us to think a little bigger, a little broader, maybe help us avoid some misunderstandings of ourselves, some changes in feelings. So I'm welcoming Amy Moeller today. Welcome, Amy, from Ohio. I love to welcome you to Massachusetts today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited that we connected and get to have this time together.
Excellent, excellent. So Amy's a realtor. She also went to the Fashion Institute of Technology. She worked in an architectural firm as a designer for a number of years, did her own business. This is an entrepreneur and did several businesses, including an invention. And then she became a realtor. And I believe being a realtor is the kind of foundation to do many, many, many other things. And that's what you're going to hear from Amy today. Amy, what is the first thing that you ask a client, let's say a real estate client, because we'll talk about coaching clients later, but a real estate client, when they say to you, Amy, I want to sell my house and move?
I say, well, I would love to help you because I really do. I love helping my clients, and my goal that I want them to know from the get-go is that it is all about them. So as far as selling their house, it is about helping them get ready because unfortunately, so many people are waiting till right before they decide to sell to clean out their house, organize, get it ready, get it, show ready, all the things, which is a really hard thing to do. So I'll usually go through a walkthrough consultation. And I like to talk about neutralizing their house because you want to have a house that looks like they can envision themselves in. So if you can take away some of the personal things within their house and allow the people who are coming in to potentially buy their house envision themselves within it, which is why I started from the get-go is really doing some staging myself. So I do everything but the furniture. And I've had people when I walk in with all my stuff and when they're almost ready to go and it's all white, a little bit of neutral things. And they're like, I had one person say, oh my gosh, like, what are you? She didn't actually say it to me until afterward. She said, I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Like, what is she doing with all this white? And when I was done, she goes, I don't want to move because it was clean. It was fresh. I mean, and that's the goal, to sell and get the highest price that you can get for the house. And so I also then will talk to them about are they downsizing, upsizing when they are buying a house? What do they want to do? What are they looking for? And make sure that they know that I am going to show them houses until they walk in and they know that either this is the place that they can make their own or it's someplace they can move in and just be excited about it. And it's not a process to where I'm showing 30, 40, 50 houses because they can't
Right.
make up their mind, but we'll go look at houses, get a feel for what they like, what they don't like, the areas they want. And then from there, we will become discerned. I will say, hey, look, I looked this up and, they have flooding issues in the basement, right? So we won't randomly always go look at houses because online it looked good. We will go through the disclosures and things like that, but I want my client to walk into a house and either love it immediately or look at it with them to say, "Hey, what can we do with these spaces?"
Right.
So,
Ex-
that was a
exactly.
long answer.
A long answer, and there's also this dimension of what feels right to them. When you take your kid to visit colleges, right, and they want to go here, or they're sure they want to go to the big university, and then you take them to a small school, and it just feels right. They know it. They know it in their heart. It feels right, and I have a sense that you open that door for people that in terms of what seems really right to them about this particular property.
Well, what I like to do is when we're in a place and they're looking at it, maybe they immediately fell in love with it because it's all been, freshly remodeled and all the things, but I like them to tell me how they would live in that house.
Huh.
How are you going to live in that house? A lot of times people will buy a house because it looks really pretty, but they don't think about how they're going to live in it. And if there's only one living room and there's 5 people in that house, how is the energy gonna feel in that room when everyone is in the same room 24/7 and the basement isn't finished, right? If
Right.
you have a basement. So, I really think it's important to think about, like, do you like to sit outside? Like, would this garden feel good with coffee in the morning? Or when your husband's watching football, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna be? Or where the kids going to play if there's kids involved, and really think and talk about how it's going to feel in the house that they're potentially going to be buying.
Are you seeing a change in terms of defined room spaces versus big open areas? Have you seen any kind of change in your area about preferences?
I would say that the big open is probably still desirable because it feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It usually just feels good, but I will say that once they start thinking about where they're going to be in spaces, there needs to be more than just one space to be. Even if it's a large bedroom that they can have a TV and a sitting area while everyone else is doing something else. I feel like I feel like in a house it's really important for everybody to feel that there is a space for them, even if it's a chair and a table and someplace to read or something like that, because it's important energetically for everyone in that house to have a space that they can just be by
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My audience here typically runs 45 to 65 years of age. At least that's kind of how I gear a lot of the topics. Empty nesters. I have 5 bedrooms. I had 5 kids at home. They're all launched. Um, Heating 5 bedrooms or air conditioning 5 bedrooms is not wise. I want to make a change. How would you guide that person?
Oh, it's an interesting question because I cannot tell you how many people have come into an open house. And usually it's a large ranch, and larger is the key word because a lot of people feel like they have to. I have to downsize. I'm retiring. I have to downsize. I
Right.
have to do this. And so they start looking around, but they forget that they still want their family there. They
Yes.
forget, the feed them and they will come, or some, kids that come in from out of town that will stay with you if you have some space. So I always think that's a really important question. Like some people are downsizing so they can just go travel and they don't really care about
Mm-hmm.
entertaining or having people there. But I think it's a pretty important question to ask before you downsize. And again, everybody still needs their space, even if it's just two of you. You still are going to want some private space.
Right.
So,
Right.
downsizing and going small, I think really needs to be thought out.
We think we can do it, right? We think about the economics of it. I do hear house is certainly adequate. All this land out here, we could put an ADU out here. Well, that's in this state, 900 square feet max, right? Do I want to live in 900 square feet max with my husband who loves to just, leave things around and all that? I have to rethink that. I had a guest on, Saul Skolnick, a lender in New York, and he talks about side sizing. He really thinks downsizing as a concept is misleading to clients, to people, because once you go through either the selling of that 5-bedroom home, you're moving into probably a fairly similar neighborhood. Well, the prices have changed quite a bit. And you're going to be paying for maybe less space, but you're going to be paying for more services. So he's very cautious, and he cautions all of his lending clients, be careful about this concept of downsizing as being kind of a financial only response. And that's what I hear you saying as well.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Hmm. I know you have a special place in your heart for women in their second half of their lives. And I want to explore with you not only the real estate, because obviously you're a strong realtor. And please reach out to Amy in the Cincinnati area if you need a strong realtor. And her contact information will be in the show notes. And but Amy has this always entrepreneur, always changing, always creating side to her, and is getting ready to launch a new service or a new community. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Ah, yes. So I am very excited about this. So I started, I started a long time ago, really just being interested in growing myself and figuring out who I was and where I was. And I find, and we kind of talked about this before, I feel like I'm in this 10-year cycle that I am trying something new, becoming someone new. And I find it fascinating that when you get into this second half of life, and particularly women, because it's very different, I think, for men, and I understand women and where we're coming from, although we're all different, is that a lot of women get to the second half of life and feel like it's perhaps, the best part of their life is over. And I I know it's not true. I know that there is so much for us to do. In fact, I feel like when we step into that second half of life and we actually can start loving ourselves, focusing on ourselves, and figuring out what we want to do, the dreams that we forgot about when we raised our kids or dove into a career, like this is such a perfect opportunity. So I have a company that I have just started called Growing Happy Souls.
Growing happy souls.
Yes. And so it's really about just guiding women to figure out what's next. And my first course, I've launched a course last year that'll be launching later this year. But the one that I'm going to be launching here in the next, couple days is called Surroundings Matter, which tie so close and tightly in with real estate because as you know, when you're moving or you're moving in, you are organizing and getting rid of clutter, figuring out all the things. And so what I have done is to create, yes, it's an organizational program, but it's about peace. It is about having a plan for your house and figuring out what each room will contain and how is it going to feel. There's a little decorating in there, like I'll do through coaching and, a community where I answer questions and things like that. But it's a very simple plan. Do it at your own pace. You can start with the basics or you can dive in and do a whole house plan. Because I feel like, I mean, there was a point to where I really just lived out of a couple rooms in my house and the other
Yes.
ones were not used.
Yes.
So I have slowly I started doing this, what I developed this for myself. I started doing it probably 7 years ago. And I'm on my third layer. Like I've gotten rid of all the kids' things, and I've claimed rooms that are now, my office, or a guest room slash exercise room. And, one is a guest room with all my craft things that, I probably need to clean out on this next round because I'm not really being crafty anymore. But it's really about just sitting and thinking about the room. Like if I read a book and I want to meditate, or I want to do, where am I sitting? Where am I
Mhm.
going to be? Where do I have peace? And so that's what this is about. It is about creating peace within your home, because if you, I feel that your surroundings are a reflection of your life. And when your car is a mess, like, it's time to just take a breath, go to the car wash, get it cleaned out, figure out what needs to be in and what's out. And same for your house. What When I have, like, right now, my bedroom is a cluttered mess because I just got back from a trip. And I will tell you that it will be cleaned and organized here in the next day. But I have a place for everything and I know where it all goes. And it's so, it's easy once you have a foundation of organization to just do a refresh. And let's face it, we all need to refresh now and then. So, and we all do things different. So that's what that is.
It sounds a little feng shui like, in the sense
Yeah.
of creating, energies in your space. And we had Suzanne Runyon on a couple of times from England, and her advice to about decluttering was start with your closet, and how refreshing that was, just going through the closet, and it was lovely, just lovely, and great to have space in a closet rather than, throwing stuff in, et cetera, et cetera. I love this concept, that the pictures that you're drawing of sitting out on a patio or a balcony, if you're in a city, reading a book or enjoying your coffee. I love just the visual of that, because it is a feeling. It is a feeling. To talk a little bit more about the transition of women into the second half. I mean, you alluded to clearing out the children's things and making space for yourself. What more do we have to think about? If we're not using all that space, why not get a smaller space? Do you kind of go there at all?
100%. I mean, I think you have to really, I mean, what I think is really important for, and this is stepping outside of real estate and will lead into real estate, but I when I was 40, I saw a quote that said 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things that you didn't do than the things that you did. Mark Twain. And I read it and I set it aside, and I couldn't get it off my mind.
Wow.
And I stenciled it back in the day. Stenciling was big. I stenciled it on my wall, and I had an idea that I wanted to turn into an event. I wanted to, have an invention and create it and market it. And I did it. I woke up in the middle of the night in a panic attack, and I never have panic attacks. That, why am I not doing this? And so flash forward to, that was when I was 40, flash forward to when I was 57, and I got the same panic attack. Oh my goodness. Now, I used to think 60 was going to be old. Now I'm 65, right? So it's, I think you really want to go deep. What do I want to do? And I didn't know when I first started doing that when I was 57. I had no idea. Did I want to travel? What was my favorite color? If I could have any car, what could I want? Because my identity was my children.
Yes.
And so suddenly I had no, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's the truth, right? Like, I didn't know. So I just have spent the last, 8 years defining what I want. And when you actually even don't even have to go that deep, but if you define what you want before you move, what do I want my house to be like? Do I want to walk out the door and get coffee? Or do I want to be in the country? Well, nobody is around me.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to have, my own bedroom? Or do we want,
Mm-hmm.
a dual suite? Do we want, are we going to travel and not be here that much? Who's coming to dinner? Like, when you really, really sit down and figure out what you want your life to look at like, then you can figure out what house is going to support that. And
Excellent.
yeah.
It's so. this is a fascinating house we live in, and we have a smaller dining room. It sits a table of 8, but just, 2 cabinets and things like that. So not big. But we have a living room that's like 22 by 15 or 16. Nobody ever sits in that room. No matter what the party is, whatever, everybody is in the kitchen, no matter what, in the family room. Nobody uses that room. And my husband's fantasy is to have a Downton Abbey dining room. So in the next iteration, and our friend, the interior designer, comes up to visit next week. In our next iteration, Carl's getting his dream met. He's going to have what he calls a Downton Abbey dining room. Hopefully parties will move in there. When we have parties again, I think COVID changed our world so much, so much, changed our socializing so much. But thank you, because I think that that's his dream, and that's his dream. And let's do it. Let's do it and see what it looks like and see how
And
fun
so
it is.
would the dining room go into
Become
the kitchen, the living room?
the dining will become a sitting room. It's at the front of the house, and there's a sizable family room. And so it becomes no TV, just big, beautiful windows onto a courtyard. And I think it will be pretty, and I think it will be peaceful. That's my sense about it. It will be peaceful. And I
Yeah.
love that feeling rather than functional. We're always thinking about function, especially around having a lot of kids or maybe having aging parents with us. We're thinking, I guess, about function first, and I guess form after that.
I mean, why can't form and function be together, right?
Exactly.
Like what I think would be great for your dining room, it's my favorite, one of my favorite things is to get like a large, low, round cocktail table and put chairs around it that you can, while you're cooking, people can be having cocktails and sitting or, making puzzles or playing games. And then you move into the dining room. And I mean, that is functional, right? That's so
Oh, I
that
love it. I love it. I love it. And the reason I love it is because what was in that huge living room is now my daughter. But when this adjusts in a few months, what we had was this low, round Baker McGuire cocktail table. And that would be just perfect in this new space. Great. I love it. I love it.
I love
Oh
it. I have
my.
it, and it's like we use it all the time. Like it's the actual living room that's connected to like another space, and we open up Christmas presents in there all the time, and all the things. So yeah,
Yep. That's right. We get to have Christmas again at our house for our family here in Massachusetts, which will be a whole lot of fun. So that's function and form at the same time. That's awesome.
you don't have to have one or the other. The goal is to enjoy and love and use your rooms in different ways, right? And that's one of the things that I will do when I walk through someone buying a house. Like, what else could you use this for?
Tell me a little bit about if you've run into yet multi-generational families. I think it's a trend that we're beginning to see now in this country. Obviously, other cultures have brought it to our country, and it's very much part of their world, but we haven't. I'm going to leave my house to my child, and I'm not going to depend on them. I'm going to be independent, and not that they have to be dependent, but I see so many people loving grandchildren, just loving grandchildren, or our lives have changed, the economy has changed, and I think we're seeing the evolution of multi-generational families. Have you seen any of that?
I have. I actually just I have a client right now that is closing on a 5-acre piece of land. And a lot of builders now in our area are offering floor plans that either have an attached suite for in-law suite or actually just houses that are set up to be multi-generate. There's a little wing or there's a little area. And so yeah, I have a couple, and her parents are buying the land together, and they're going to start building in the next year, and that's their dream.
Awesome. I had a chance to visit with Julie Ford yesterday, and she has a whole kind of podcast on multi-generational living. And it's fascinating because in a state like Massachusetts, which is densely populated in some areas, and then, of course, wide open, like you were just describing, I don't know where 5 acres exists, but accessory dwelling units are now possible in this state. So you can actually build an independent unit on your property. You have a right as a property owner. It's a
Hmm.
right. You can attach it. You can, of course, do the urban thing, which is the attic and the basement, and those kinds of things. But so we're seeing lots of opportunities, but I'm glad you're seeing this. And it certainly for Julie Ford, I mean, she takes a look at the financing of it, how you live together in a shared economic environment, and what happens to the property. Let's say you just have you're living with one child. What happens to the ownership of that property as part of your estate? So all these questions kind of boil up, and it's an exciting time.
Yes. And even especially if you have more children, like how is that going to work? So like I'll even sometimes suggest like maybe getting like land right next to each other, even if it's a concern, right? So that, if one, you don't know what life is going to bring. I mean, you can hope that you're going to always be together and be in this house, but jobs change and health changes and there's always something. So I feel like it's a really, really important idea to sit down and talk about what if, right? What if beforehand. And if you have two separate lots, even though you're right next to each other, then you each have your own property to sell.
Yes, that's right. So it's clear. It's very
Mm.
defined. It has been really fun talking with you. I would you please make sure that we have the information about growing happy souls,
Yes.
and you're going to launch it about the time that this episode will air, which is really, really wonderful, and we're honored and flattered, and I hope we can have further conversations as these issues evolve, design and real estate and goals in life. That beautiful combination that you seem so happy to help people with.
Yes. Thank you. I,
Great.
I I would I would love to anytime. And Amy Moeller, Moeller.com is my website.
Wonderful.
So
Excellent. Thank you, Amy Moeller. Enjoy the rest of the summer. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you found this conversation useful to you and your real estate goals. You'll find the contact information for our guests and any links they recommend you have in the show notes. And should we be able to help you identify some strong real estate professionals in your area, drop us a note at info@realestateconnectionspodcast.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.